podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. This show originally aired on the Premier Network's 200 stations, coast to coast. Sunday, October 18th, 2020. This is episode 1738. Enjoy. The Tech Guy podcast comes to you from TWiT's LastPass Studios. Securing every access point in your company does not have to be a challenge. LastPass unifies access and authentication to make securing your employees simple and secure, even when they're working remotely. Check out lastpass.com/twit to learn more. This episode of The Tech Guy is brought to you by ExpressVPN. Protect your online privacy with one click. For 3 extra months free with a 1-year package, go to expressvpn.com/techguy. And by LastPass. LastPass can help you manage identities and promote good security behaviors while your employees are remote. Visit lastpass.com/twit to find out how they can help you. And by Eset. Eset protects businesses worldwide with internet security products and services backed by world-class research and tech support. Get an interactive demo today at try.eset.com/twit. And while you're there, start your free trial. Oh, hello. Well, hey. How are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Yeah, it's time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smartwatches, you know, all that jazz. 8888, ask Leo, the phone number. If you want to talk high tech, I think you found the right place. You'll be joining the many others who wish to say, why isn't my computer working? 888-827-5536. If you want to call from the U.S. or Canada, that's toll free, but outside that area, no. But there's a little loophole. All you have to do is use a voice over internet thingamajiggy. And you can call toll free, just something like Skype out, something they'll call a phone number. 8888 Ask Leo. When I talk about stuff, there's a website. We put it all down there. My scribe, James DeRuvo, scribble. Even as I speak right now, writing every word, every pearl of wisdom down, and then transferring it to techguylabs.com. So if you hear something on the show and you say, wait a minute, I need that link, don't worry, it's there already. And you can also leave comments and suggestions. So if you hear something and say, no, that's wrong, or I have a better idea, go there and leave a comment or suggestion. And here's the beauty part. I'm not selling you something here. It's free. There's no sign up. It's a resource for you. It's just a place you can go to get this information. So you don't have to worry too much about it. techguylabs.com. The new iPhones are here. Oh. Okay. Calm down. The Tuesday, Apple had an iPhone event that was all about the new 5G iPhones that have 5G, that they even have Verizon's 5G CEO 5G talking about 5G on the stage for about 5G minutes. And then they showed all the phones, and literally, I didn't count it, but there is a supercut on YouTube, said the words 5G more than 24 times over and over, many times Verizon 5G, selling all of the benefits you're going to get from 5G, none of which you're going to get, I should point out, even with a 5G phone, because all of the really cool stuff, you know, the 4 gigabits download speeds, are available in a little narrow, tiny, teeny, weeny area in certain cities of the country, maybe in one corner of a football stadium. That's about it. It's only good outdoors. Don't work inside because it can't go through walls. It only goes about 800 feet, so you have to be within 800 feet of the cell tower with line of sight access. There can't be a tree between you. There can't be a building between you. There can't be a human or even a raindrop. Line of sight, clear vision, 800 feet max away, and then you might get 4G if no one else is using it. 4 gigabits, not 5G with 4 gigabits. That's confusing. It's a marketing term. There's 2 kinds of 5G. Actually, there's more, but there's 2 main kinds. And the funny thing is that Tuesday, Verizon also rolled out what they call their, quote, nationwide 5G. The one you don't have to live in 14th Street and Race in Philadelphia to get outside within 800 feet of the tower. That is the same as T-Mobile's nationwide 5G. It's what we call low band, or it's a 600 megahertz, which it means it can go through walls. It can travel a good distance. It's kind of like LTE. In fact, it's a lot like what you got right now. Maybe a little faster, maybe, probably not. In fact, in some cases, it's even slower. So I think Apple, they must have given Apple, how much money do you have to give Apple to get your CEO on stage, to get them to plug your stuff all the time, to say Verizon 5G, Verizon 5G. I mean, Apple's got more money than God. They've got hundreds of billions of dollars just sitting in the bank with nothing to do. How much does Verizon have to give Apple to get all that attention? A lot, I guess. Maybe the next time you're in the Verizon store, that'll explain the giant buy an iPhone today billboard. I don't know. Apple also... They didn't used to do this stuff. They didn't need to. I don't think they need to today. They also kind of understated the price of the phone because the price they quoted people was with carrier subsidy. So unless you're buying it from AT&T or Verizon, no, T-Mobile doesn't have it, AT&T or Verizon, and it's only in the base model phones will you get that deal. So it's not even the price of the phone. It's like back when they used to say, it's $200 with a 2-year contract. And you pay for it even after the 2 years over. You're going to pay for that phone for the rest of your life. So there's 4 new phones. I just want to say that. I want to get that off my chest. Pay no attention to the hand waving about 5G. Very few people are going to get it. If you're in a 5G area, it'd be nice to have. I mean, imagine 4 gigabits. Wow, that's fast. But that's very few people listening to this. You have to be in a city. You have to be within 800 feet of a tower. You have to be outside. It's kind of like Wi-Fi, really, is what it is. Which makes me wonder why, do people even care about this? Since most of the time when you're inside, you have Wi-Fi. They said, oh, look, an EMT, an emergency medical technician can download a brain scan, a CAT scan in the ambulance and look at it because they have, but is that something people are saying, oh, I really wish I could do that? I need to do that. I don't know what they're going to do with a brain scan as they're driving you to the hospital, but okay, fine. Anyway, 4 phones. There's an iPhone, they're all 12s, by the way. This is iPhone 12. There's the iPhone 12 mini, which is mini. It's smaller than the iPhone SE that they started selling. I mean, it's really small. It's the size of like an iPhone 4. It's tiny. But this is what's cool about it. If you want a small phone, it has all the features of the big boy phone, and it's $100 cheaper. So, but you don't get it for the price. Probably you might. SE is even cheaper. So if you really want to save money, get an SE. But which is a perfectly good phone that has the guts of an iPhone 11, and this has the guts of an iPhone 12, and it's tiny, and it has nice cameras and all that stuff. Then there's the iPhone 12, which is the iPhone 12. That's a little bit bigger, and then there's the iPhone 12 Pro. That's a little bit bigger still, and then there's the iPhone 12 Pro Max, which is humongous. That's the one I'm going to get. I want humongous, right? They didn't really explain the fact that the iPhone 12 Pro and 12 Pro Max have kind of different cameras. Only the 12 Pro Max, you have to buy the humongous phone if you want. They did some interesting things. They have a sensor that's 50% bigger. That means a lot more light gets in, and it has built-in optical image stabilization. The sensor shakes when you shake. That's pretty cool, but that's only on the Max. I don't think they really made that clear. Honestly, you don't need to know all that. There's no reason to worry about the 5G because they all come with it anyway. In fact, all the phones from all the flagship phones from all the manufacturers, the Samsung, Note 20 and S20, and they're all 5G now. The Pixel 5, they're all 5G now. So I think Verizon must have been doling out the cash. AT&T has a phony 5G you should be aware of, 5GE, which is really just 4G with an E on it. And but everybody eventually will have this 600 megahertz wide ultra. What is it called? I can't remember. Low band, I guess is what I'll call it. 5G. Everybody's going to do that, and that's what you want. But it kind of makes me mad because for instance, the new iPhones have this plastic window on the side that's just for the millimeter wave, the very, very scarce 5G that Verizon's offering on a couple of street corners in the U.S. So you have this thing on your phone, and the bill of materials is up. It costs more because you got to buy a special Qualcomm chip for this 5G. And, I'm guessing it's around $100 more just so you can get this millimeter wave, which only a handful of people can get. It's all marketing. It's all hype. What's the final tally? Well, the nice thing is Apple now with the Pros starts at 128 gigs of storage. So that's good. You can't compare it to the previous one. That's good. They no longer 64 gigs except on the 12 and 12 mini. If you load up an iPhone 12 Pro Max with 512 gigs of storage, $1,400. On the other side, if you get a 64 gigabyte iPhone 12 mini, which is probably the one a lot of you want, $730. So there's the range right there. $830 for the 12 and on up. And of course, iPhone 11 and 10R and SE prices have dropped. So if you really want to save money on a phone, there's some good choices out there. $400 for the iPhone SE, that's a great choice. Very nice. $50 more, you can get 128 gigs of storage, which is probably what you want. Probably what you want. So there you go. People said, why didn't you talk about the Apple event? Well, that's why. That's it. It's all there is. There ain't no more. 5G, that's the thing you need to know. It's got 5G. Some intrepid reporters got to do some investigation. How much did Verizon give Apple? What did they give? What could Apple possibly need that they would give into this crazy marketing thing and put the CEO on? Is it like, we're going to put you on display in the stores? You're going to love it. It'll be amazing. There must have done something to get Verizon. Verizon had to do $1 billion. Even then, Apple's got so much money, they don't need $1 billion. It's got to be something else. I don't know. I can't even figure it out. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, I give you the one, the only, the unbreakable phone angel, Kimmy Schaffer. Kimmy don't take no schmaffer. Hello. Hello, Kim.
I'm glad my name is so amusing.
Well, you probably had to put up with that your whole life. So.
No, not at all. Not until recently.
No, really? Oh, sorry.
No, I've just always been called Schaefer instead of Schaffer.
Yeah, well, you learned me that very early on.
I don't care. It really doesn't matter to me. Call me what you want.
Well, we remember there was a beer. I don't know. Is it still around?
Schaefer's beer.
Schaefer is the one beer to have when you're having more than one. They don't do that anymore because it's really an encouragement
to have more.
To have a lot of beer.
Well,
Now they say drink responsibly.
I might be advertising right now as well.
I like your sweatshirt from our local brewery.
Yes, right down the road a piece.
Lagunitas, yeah.
So I might be encouraging people to drink more beer.
FCC regulations prohibit the use of alcoholic beverages during and inside these studios at any time. And we adhere to that. I have a nice piece of brisket, but that's as far as I'll go.
Yep.
John's laughing. I can hear him laughing.
And
I gave him
got
some
coffee,
brisket.
so that's about.
Oh, that coffee's good. Yeah. So who should I, talk to?
Let's chat with Rosie, who she's a voiceover person, and she needs a new computer because hers died, and she has no idea what to get.
Can't wait to talk to Rosie from Denver, Colorado. Thank you so much, Kim. Hello, Rosie.
Hi there. I've been enjoying your singing.
You're the only one, Rosie.
I am?
Yeah.
I thought, well, he's not only smart, he can sing too. Wow.
Oh, you are the only, I'm the one that they go, don't give up your day job whenever I sing. Anyway, hey, so what can I do for you, Rosie?
Well, I have never, ever gone laptop shopping. And now I'm forced to because all my sound drives and everything in my old computer, my old PC went down.
So you used to use your computer for your voiceover stuff?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Do you
I
just
have that,
record it, or do you stream it? Do you have some producer listening on the other end, or you just record it right to the laptop?
Well, both, but most of the time I record it.
Okay.
And because
send it
most
off.
of mine are auditions, etc.
Got it.
And then you send it off. And my computer is, plugged into a Focusrite.
Oh,
interface.
that's what we use.
And then,
yeah, so you can use a professional.
Oh, do you?
Yeah. We use Scarlett's from Focusrite as the interface.
Yes.
It turns
wonderful.
a professional microphone, the kind we use in radio and recording, and it turns it into a USB microphone, so you can record directly into your computer, and they're very good. Yeah.
Yes, they're wonderful.
Nice. So any
that goes
computer
into your
will
microphone.
Any computer will work with that.
It will. Well, people have asked me when I've gone shopping just once or twice, and they've said, "Well, what are you going to use it for?" And I got to thinking about it, and I thought, well, shouldn't any
That's what we tech guys like to befuddle people with.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. Well, I always ask that because if you told me, well, we're going to be launching rocket ships and I'd like to do 3D design for the car that we're making, or, well, I absolutely need this to play the top of the line video games, or that kind of thing, or I'm orchestrating a symphony and I need 128 instruments in my Pro Tools. If you told us that, then we would say, well, you're going to need this or that. But what you're doing, which is USB audio input, and you're recording a single input, your microphone, any computer can do that. Any computer can do that. Yeah.
And do you favor any brand of laptop over another?
Yeah. This is personal preference, and if you have a strong preference in one direction, you should honor that. But generally for audio production, I prefer Macintosh over Windows. There's good Windows software out there, but Mac actually comes with GarageBand, which you could use, and then offers for a couple of $100 Logic Pro, which is about a fifth the cost of a professional recording studio digital audio workstation. They call these DAW software, and is every bit it's really good. So Apple has a little bit of an advantage there, even with Pro Tools. If you go in a recording studio, a lot of times you'll see them using Macs for that. But that's your preference.
But I've never worked on a Mac.
Yeah, so like you've used Windows your whole life.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you really prefer Windows and Windows, you certainly can get, plenty. You already have some recording software probably that you use.
Yes, I have Audacity right now.
Oh, yeah. Audacity's great. And it's free, so that's nice.
And it's free?
Yeah, and you can use Audacity on a Mac as well. So you don't need anything fancier than that, and that any Windows machine or laptop would do it. In the Windows world, the most bulletproof ones are the Lenovo ThinkPads. The new Dell XPSs are fantastic. I have one of those, and I'm loving them. They have 13 and 15-inch screens, depending on what you prefer. And then, of course, HP has some very attractive machines, the new Spectres. But I would say if you want bulletproof, if you want business quality, you can't break it, ThinkPad. And if you want a really nice machine with a great keyboard and a great screen, Dell's XPS. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. But you don't need anything that expensive or that fancy. I mean, you could go, you could get any computer would do this, I guess, is the bottom line.
Well, I was looking at the Lenovos at one time.
I love them. Now,
I did see those.
Don't get the low-end Lenovos. Get the ThinkPads. Those,
ThinkPads?
Yeah, they're carbon fiber bodies. They're really, the ThinkPads really are stellar quality. And then Dell XPS. The issue with Dell seems to be, I've heard a lot anecdotally, that quality control during COVID has gone down a little bit with Dell, but they're getting under warranty if there's anything wrong with it. The thing to do when you get any computer is to bang on it, try to break it as soon as you can, so that you can return it for one that's working. So if you have any problems at all, then you just go, oh yeah, and you call them, and then you can swap it out. Dell does offer higher end tech support if you pay for their gold support, which I would. If you need tech support, that may be one area where they're very good. Although Lenovo you can buy with Lenovo variety of levels of tech support, including they come to you and fix it. And they
Really?
they guarantee it. In fact, usually when I buy a ThinkPad, I buy that. It's not very expensive.
Really?
But yeah, I mean, it's up to you whether, you want to spend that kind of money. It is your business tool.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
But I had never even heard of the ThinkPad.
That's their business line. They bought it from IBM many moons ago, and they've kept it. So almost all computer manufacturers really have two lines: a kind of a consumer line that's less expensive, with somewhat lower quality components, and then a business line or professional line that's more expensive but has higher quality screens, trackpads, keyboards, internal components, and that kind of thing. And a lot of times people say, well, I want the $500 one. That's the consumer one.
Uh-huh.
But it's not going to be as long-term reliable and robust as spending $1,000 or $1,200 and getting the business one. And I always think it's worth getting it. It'll last longer. It'll be.
So are the business ones? Most of the business ones start at $1,000.
Well, it varies. You can get ThinkPads well under $1,000. What's your budget?
Well, that's funny. You're also a comedian.
How much of your money may I spend? I would take a look at the ThinkPad.
Trying to keep it just a skosh under $1,000.
Oh yeah,
that's what I was.
A skosh under $1,000. You can do that with a ThinkPad for sure. What you pay for with a ThinkPad, when it gets expensive, is the higher res screen. You don't need that. Get a 1080p screen. You'll get better battery life, and the quality will look just as good. Windows, you might want touch screen. Maybe it's a little easier to edit, but you don't have to, and that'll save you money. And then the extra thin ones are the bendy ones, the 2-in-1s. Those cost more. So you don't need the X1 Yoga or the X1 Carbon. You can get a T series. I think would be a very nice, kind of very robust ThinkPad. You just go to the Lenovo site and you can see the pricing. You're going to almost always buy online. When you go to Costco or somewhere, you get a great warranty, and they make it very easy to return it. Sometimes that's worth it, but usually you're not getting the latest technology. On the other hand, you're going to get a good price. So maybe, check out what Costco or your, other big box stores, Sam's Club or whatever.
The big box.
Yeah. See what they offer, because they always have very good return policies.
Yes, Costco does. I know.
Yeah.
But they're low on stock. They're really low.
Well, see what they have, and they sell ThinkPads. So see what they have, and they'll probably have a better price. But it might be last year's. But who cares? That's fine. Hey, unfortunately, Rose, I have to run.
That's all right. I was hoping you would sing one more time, but that's okay.
I don't know the Rosie the Riveter song, but if I did, I would sing it for you. Thank you, Rosie.
Well,
goodbye, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, goodbye. Our show today brought to you by, as often is, ExpressVPN. The only VPN I use, the one I recommend, and one of the reasons I love ExpressVPN is it's on everything I use, including you can use it on a router, you can use it on an iPhone, an Android phone, you can use it on your desktop, you can use it pretty much everywhere. That's one of the beauties of ExpressVPN. There are 3 reasons people use VPNs, by the way, I might add. There's the one you probably hear the most, which is security. ExpressVPN encrypts your traffic from your computer all the way to their servers, and as a result, it can't be sniffed or viewed or watched by bad guys. That was really important in the old days when we were in open Wi-Fi access points. I don't know if we're doing it that much anymore, but there's other reasons. There's actually 3, as I said. The second reason is for privacy. With ExpressVPN, you hide what you're doing on the internet from your internet service provider, your mobile carrier, from the coffee shop owner. But it's very important when you choose a VPN to understand that the VPN service now gets to see what you're doing, right? Because you're basically encrypting all your traffic all the way to the VPN server. That's why it's so important you choose a good VPN company like ExpressVPN. People use ExpressVPN to hide their traffic from their internet service provider, because many internet service providers sell information about what you do online. The third thing, of course, is a good VPN will give you ability to appear in many, many different countries, eliminating geographic restrictions. So let's say you've watched everything on your Netflix. Who hasn't these days? Well, you pay for Netflix, fire it up, turn on ExpressVPN, say, I'm in London. ExpressVPN has servers in almost 100 countries. I'm in London today. Then refresh Netflix. All of a sudden, you see Doctor Who. You see all the Netflix shows available in England. And that works in Japan, works all over the world. That's another reason. ExpressVPN is the #1 rated VPN provider on the market. It's the one I use, it's the one I trust. They anonymize your data. They use something called a trusted server technology, which actually sandboxes the server so it couldn't log, even if it wanted to. It couldn't write down what you're doing. So you're totally private. You're totally secure. And you can surf all around the world. There's 3 good reasons to use ExpressVPN. Here's a 4th. An extra 3 months free of ExpressVPN when you sign up for a year at expressvpn.com/techguy. I know you've heard about the benefits of a VPN, and you've probably been confused because you see all sorts of VPNs. There are hundreds. There's free VPNs. Don't use those. Let me just cut to the chase for you. There's one that's the best, that's the safest, the easiest to use. That one button goes on every device. Put it on your router, then the whole family. Oh, and I forgot. One other benefit, it's super fast, so you can watch HD video. You won't even know you're using ExpressVPN. It's that fast. ExpressVPN.com/techguy, 3 extra months free. Don't worry, cut to the chase. There's one VPN everyone should use. It's ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN.com/techguy. Thank them for their support of the Tech Guy Show by using that address so that they know you heard it here. ExpressVPN.com/techguy. It's time for the car guy, Sam Abuelsamid. He is principal researcher at Guidehouse Insights and does the bestest car podcast out there, Wheel Bearings at wheelbearings.media. But I'm proud to say he's my car guy. He joins me every week. What are you sitting in front of, a Duesenberg? What is that? That's one of those kit cars.
Yeah, Tech Dino in the chat room asked for a picture of a Duesenberg in the background, so that's a 1933 Duesenberg boat tail speedster.
Oh, I would love a car like that. But they're death traps, right?
Of course they are, but God, they're gorgeous. Yeah, who cares?
That car is a doozy. It looks like, actually, because your head's in the middle, it looks like 2 different cars, basically. Kind of a luxury black automobile and then a red sports. Wow, look at the pipes on that. Do those exhaust pipes do anything?
Yeah, that's the actual exhaust. It comes out the side that way.
Looks really cool. Wow, that's really neat.
But that's not what I wanted to talk about today.
Okay. This is what you want to talk about.
Heads-up displays.
Not hitting pedestrians. Oh, okay.
Yeah. But more importantly, a new kind of heads-up display called augmented reality heads-up displays. So, we've had HUDs.
Wait a minute. I don't have to wear a visor in my car, do I? No. Okay.
No visors required. In fact, definitely you definitely don't want a visor. This is a new generation of HUD that's going to be coming to market starting this actually really late, in the coming months and into 2021.
A HUD, heads-up display. They've been around for years. Pilots have had them in fighter planes and stuff. They put instrument information on the windshield, reflecting back, so you can see what you're doing, but you can also see the numbers without taking your eyes off the road.
Yeah, and actually the first heads-up display in a car came out in 1988.
Wow.
With GM in the old Cutlass. They had the very first automotive one, and they're fairly common these days. And most automakers offer them in a lot of their cars, even fairly mainstream cars. So it's not as much of a luxury item as it used to be. And the way they basically work, or at least traditional ones work, is projecting a light through a liquid crystal display that's in your dashboard. It's horizontally in your dashboard, and it projects it up onto the windshield, and it appears to be floating in the air, usually somewhere around the middle to the front edge of your hood. So usually about maybe 3 or 4 feet in front of you.
You want that so your focal distance is not so different from what you're looking at out the window, right?
Right. But even with that, it's still, it's closer to you than the stuff that you're usually really worried about on the road.
Right.
And it's also, they have been limited in size and the amount of information they can display. Some new ones in the last couple of years have gotten a lot larger, so they actually look like they're, about 24, some of them as much as 24 inches across. They appear to be, 24 inches. They're, the actual size is much smaller than that, but it's the perception that you get because of where it's floating out in front of you that it's much larger. It has a lot more information, but they're still just in a single plane. What we're starting to see coming out now is a new generation of HUDs that are multi-plane displays. The new Mercedes-Benz S-Class that was announced a few weeks ago, it goes on sale before the end of the year in Europe, it's coming here next year, has one of these AR HUDs. And there's also another company called Invisix, a European or an English company, UK-based company, that just announced their own HUD technology that's going to be debuting on the Cadillac Lyriq in 2022. And these HUDs are multi-plane displays, and in fact, what Invisix is actually working on is one that is basically infinite display, an infinite type of HUD display. And so what they're doing is you've got one plane that's showing the usual information like your turn signals and your speed and things like that, your tachometer, and maybe what you're listening to on the radio, what stations on the radio, things like that. That's in that plane that's out floating over your hood. But then in a second plane that's out actually in front of the car, it's actually projecting onto, or what appears to be from your driving position, it appears to be projecting right on the road in front of you. So things like navigation prompts, when it's time to turn, it'll actually show you, it'll appear to be on the road where you're supposed to go, having that display on there. Or it can, for example, show you, enhance the lane markers, to show you where the lane markers are, enhance those using the camera information, the forward-looking camera information, projecting that out there. And then, when there's, for example, a suggested lane change or, an off-ramp that you have to take, it'll actually appear to paint that on the road. And let me run the video here.
Oh, that's kind of cool. So you can actually see the line.
Yeah.
And just follow that.
Also,
how accurate is that, though? Could that steer you off the road?
It could potentially if it was done wrong. But
boy, they better get that one right.
The video that's playing behind me here, shows you, actually highlighting the lane that you should be in, or where
that could be really useful.
Turn.
That could be so useful. Yeah.
And the good thing about that is because it appears to be actually further out in front of you. You aren't refocusing at all,
right?
So that refocusing,
it's where you want to be looking. It's where the cars are in front of you. Because
it takes some cognitive load to refocus,
right?
And so if it's actually appears to be out on the road, that's what you actually want to be looking at. And you can also
I'm seeing, for instance, it's a circle around the hazard, the skateboarder or the bicyclist in front of me.
Cyclist or a pedestrian.
The road is shaded to be in the lane if I've got directions turned on. If I'm going somewhere, there's got that pin in the map that says here's where you're going. That's pretty neat. If it's accurate. And I have to say, one of the problems with some GPS systems is they're late. They're behind, and so there tends to be latency, and that's something that they're addressing. They're getting better with that. Good.
They're getting more accurate GPS, and they're also doing things like localization using HD maps. Comparing what the camera is seeing in real time to the HD maps, the landmarks in the HD maps,
that's cool.
To get a more precise location of where you are.
Oh, that's really cool.
All of these things are getting better. And the interesting thing about the way Invisix is doing this is they're actually adapting the speed of light. Because, what we think of as the speed of light, that 3 times 10 to the 8 meters per second, is actually just the maximum speed of light in a vacuum. But light can actually go slower than that when it's going through different materials. That's why, when you pass light through a prism, you get a rainbow because it's actually refracting and slowing down the light and splitting it. And so what they've come up with is a system. They've come up with a material where they can vary the density of that material, and they're using a laser to do the projection. And as the laser passes through this material of varying density, that's how they get it to appear to be at different distances from you.
You know, this technique, there's two different ways to do it. These look like they're camera-based. There's also LiDAR-based. And some of the self-driving vehicles are using LiDAR-based. I was wondering what you thought about the fact that Apple's now putting an inexpensive form of LiDAR in its iPhones. They started with the iPad Pro earlier this year, and now in the iPhone 12 Pros, it's got LiDAR, which it's going to use to focus in low light. It's going to bounce LiDAR off of people's faces or objects and know the exact distance.
Yeah, we haven't seen a specific teardown of what Apple's doing, but we know it's a relatively short-range LiDAR, so it's probably what's known as a flash LiDAR, which is just a single laser. There's no beam steering involved, so it's not like the spinning LiDARs that you see on a lot of these AV prototypes. And it just flashes out, and then has a sensor that picks up the photons reflecting back.
Ars Technica has a good article on the Apple LiDAR. Of course, we don't know because Apple doesn't say, but it looks like they're using VC cells made by Lumentum, which is an interesting kind of solid-state LiDAR, not moving. Anyway, we'll talk about that another time because we're out of time. That's Sam Abuelsamid, our car guy, wheelbearings.media. And we ran out of time. I kind of wanted to ask you all about that.
Well, we can talk about that next week.
Yeah. There's a good article in Ars by Timothy B. Lee.
Yeah, I know Tim.
Yeah, and this came out after Apple's announcement. They don't actually say they're using, but based on teardowns of the iPad, they think they're using these Lumentum chips, these VC cell chips. It's actually really fascinating technology.
Yeah, I think that's actually the photo sensor that's picking up the reflected photons coming back from the LiDAR. Yeah, as the Lumentum. But yeah, I mean, these flash LiDARs are actually fairly common now. There's a bunch of companies that are making them. They're fairly low cost because there's literally no moving parts.
Right.
The way most of them work,
and it's not edge. It's not an edge laser. It's off the surface, which is kind of interesting too.
Yeah, and the way they typically work is the laser is going either through a diffuser of some sort that is flooding the scene, or in the case of the Apple one, I think it's actually going through a lens, a multi-segment lens that again is splitting the beam, which is why it's a relatively short range because it's taking. You've only got so many photons from that single laser,
right? It's not so bright.
You're putting them all out at one time, and then getting the the photo sensor is picking up the reflections of those photons coming back and measuring the distance. So that's where the time to flight. So it's measuring how long from the time it flashes until it reflects. And that's one type of LiDAR. Then there's also continuous wave frequency modulated LiDAR, which works. That one actually uses a Doppler effect on the reflection coming back, and can actually measure longer distances. And the thing with time to flight is it'll measure the distance and the range to each of those reflected points in the point cloud. But then to get speed of something for an autonomous vehicle, you have to take each frame, each subsequent pulse, and measure the difference in that distance. Yeah. FMCW LiDAR, because it's a continuous wave and using a Doppler effect, using the redshift, can actually get you instantaneous velocity. So it allows you to do some things that you can't do with a time of flight LiDAR, which it makes it easier to filter out things like raindrops and snowflakes that are in the atmosphere, because you can characterize the behavior of those, and so you can filter them out.
This heads-up display you were showing is camera-based, I would guess, yeah?
Well, the camera is used to figure out where to project stuff. The HUD itself is still in the dashboard, so you have a laser that's shooting up through.
I understand that, but I meant the sensor they're using to position stuff. How do they know what part of the road? That's got to be a camera, right?
It's using the camera to figure out where the lanes are and where the things that you want to highlight are going to be.
Right. Really interesting stuff. Very cool.
Yeah.
None of that will be my forte. I'm already thinking my Mach E is out of date already.
Well, I think they offer a HUD in there. I think there's one in the first edition. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I actually saw another one day before yesterday, just a few blocks away from here.
Oh, neat. Every time you're on, I
they're
log
getting out
in
there
to
on
see
the
if
road.
they're. Apparently, some people's are being made now. There's some of those emails are going out. So.
Okay.
So
you should be getting something.
Someday
soon.
I am a first edition.
Yep. Those will be the first ones built.
All right, Sammy. Have a good one.
All right. See you next week.
Talk
Leo.
to you soon. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
Leo, you got me on my knees. Leo. I always like this song because it's written about me. 8888. No, it's not. 8888. Ask Leo. See, Rosie really ruined it for the rest of us. Now I'm going to be singing because I'm going to think, oh, I can sing. No. Lot, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Hello, Lot. How are you?
Hi there. Good morning. How are you?
I am great. How's life in Lauderdale?
How can I tell you? With the thing that's going around, it's still terrible.
Hey, at least you didn't. Did you get the spring breakers this year? Maybe you did. Actually,
None.
Okay, that's probably a relief for the residents, I would imagine.
Anyway, my one great adventure, believe it or not, was the reopening of IKEA.
Well, those are big enough. You can really spread out.
Yeah. Well, except I'm wheelchair bound, so I had my friend take me.
How's access at IKEA? It's got to be pretty good, right?
It's nice. You know, you go up to the top floor and you go all the way down and around. It's like an amusement park.
You don't even have to push. You just roll, yeah? Okay.
You're right, because it's on an incline.
Yeah, you need good brakes. That's the only thing.
With the wheelchair.
How fun. Now I'd be going to IKEA all the time. That's awesome.
Anyway, I came across a set of Wi-Fi speakers called Symphonic.
Yes.
That they make.
Yes.
And they are Wi-Fi. And I want to know, can I get the sound from my computer to play on these speakers like as if they were Bluetooth?
Right.
They're not Bluetooth. I know that.
No, and this is what's really interesting about IKEA. They've done actually partnerships with both Amazon and Sonos to make speakers that are smart. So these Wi-Fi speakers, the whole point of having Wi-Fi, obviously, would be that you could AirPlay into them or use some sort of Wi-Fi technology to get into them. These Symfonisk, which is a Symfonisk, like symphonic, but it's Swedish. Symfonisk. These Wi-Fi speakers are Sonos-based. So the way Sonos works is a little different. You can't play directly into the Sonos's, I don't think, but you can use the Sonos software to add your music collection and then play it. So it's kind of a little different, but it probably works a little bit better. I don't know how to describe this. I'm going to look and see the other possibility. What kind of computer would you like to play from, Windows or Mac?
Windows.
So Windows supports a technology a little different from the Mac. Both are based on DLNA, but Windows has its own, and Mac has AirPlay and so forth. Let me just see if it supports the...
Yeah, my iPhone works on them using AirPlay.
Okay. So if it
great.
supports AirPlay, that's the ideal. That's a very good way to play stuff back.
But what I'm looking for is to try and get the sound from my PC on these speakers.
Yeah. See. Yeah. So that's the question. I'm looking and I don't see I'm looking on the IKEA page and they don't say a whole lot about what these do. You can. So I guess the way to do is you make a Sonos account, and then Sonos will play directly from your computer. So you use the Sonos software on your computer. And I've never found it works that well. You know, Sonos really seems to work better with streaming from the services that Sonos offers, including Spotify and Pandora and Apple Music.
Yes, and all those.
All of those. But if you have music on your computer, in theory, the Sonos software, they call it your library. And so it's the your library section of the Sonos software. And in theory, it will scan your computer and you will be able to play using... Sonos uses a proprietary system.
Okay, so there's no way like Bluetooth getting the sound from my computer on these speakers.
I think you can use Bluetooth with it, can't you? Let me see.
No,
you can't?
Wi-Fi.
Just Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi's better quality. So Wi-Fi would be the ideal way to do it anyway. But it's not as easy, is it?
No, the Wi-Fi is fine. I'll accept it.
I'll take it. Here is, and I'm going to put this on the Sonos subreddit, reddit.com/r/Sonos. They're talking about how to do this. In fact, this is the title of the article: Stream to IKEA's Symfonisk from Windows PC. So it looks like you have to use the Sonos Connect rather than, the Sonos app is probably the only way to do it. But check it out in the Sonos app. Do you have the Sonos app on your PC yet?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. So I think that's the key is play it. As I remember, it's something like play from my library.
Okay, and that's just the music though, but that's not the live sound from my computer.
I see. You want to use them as computer speakers. I misunderstood. You want to use them. There is a slight delay. That's probably the reason why you don't do it. There's a few second delay, which would be disturbing if you're watching a video and then the audio.
Now that you're singing, I want to put.
No, you don't. No. So if you're just like playing radio shows, that would be fine. But a 3-second delay, if you're watching video on your computer, you really can't use the IKEA speaker as a computer speaker.
Then it's set up with just using it for the sound of my library.
They say there's about a 3-second delay. That would be intolerable because it'd be like watching a dubbed Japanese Godzilla movie. You know, their mouths move and they say, Godzilla. He's there. And it's like there's no relationship between the lip moving. And that can drive people crazy. How were the meatballs, though? Were they good?
Oh, they were delicious.
I bet people go. My son was telling me, oh, yeah, when we and my buddies are hungry, we all go over to Costco for those giant hot dogs and pizzas. I bet you people go to IKEA just for the meatballs and lingonberry jam. I bet you they do.
Yes, we brought back a package of frozen.
Of course you did.
And the jam.
Of course you did, Lot. Yeah, so I guess it does do AirPlay. I'm looking at the specs. It does do AirPlay, and of course it works with Sonos. These are Sonos speakers, but yeah, you cannot use them as a computer speaker unless there's and sometimes some Sonos speakers have input jacks. Where you could
not these.
Not those. Okay, so they're truly wireless. There are Sonos speakers that you could use as computer speakers because you can wire them into your computer, but not these.
Right.
The delay would kill you.
With them. I think it's a great price, great deal.
Yeah, they're very inexpensive, and they look kind of nice. I mean, they have that nice Swedish design look. Did you put them up on stands?
No, they're on the wall.
Even nicer. Yeah.
Set in the bedroom, not bathroom.
Nice.
Bedroom, and it's set in the kitchen.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I was all in on Sonos, but those Sonos speakers are $400 or $500 at $100. This is great. This is much better.
It's great. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Absolutely. And they also have lamps, by the way. They have the lamps there that have the built-in.
Yeah, I thought that was odd. Did you hear them? How do they sound?
No, I didn't hear them yet. That's my next trip.
That sounds a little odd to have a lamp with music coming out of it. This is the thing. This is all the rage now, though. Both Apple just announced their they look like a little scented candle speakers.
Glade, right?
Yeah,
Glade.
They look like a Glade, and then Google and Amazon both have $100 little speakers. The idea put them all over the house, and then you can have music everywhere you go. In fact, the Apple speakers they promised, we'll see. You said you have an iPhone, will follow you. So as you go from the kitchen to the living room to the bedroom, the sound will move from speaker to speaker to speaker. I can't wait to try that out.
Okay,
that's gonna be kind of weird. Hey, it's a pleasure talking to you, Lot.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
The best of health.
You too. Stay safe. Yes.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. I wear my mask everywhere. I went to the grocery store the other day. They probably thought I was an alien. I'm wearing a mask, a hard shell mask that looks so scary. I look like Bane out of the Batman, so I put over that a surgical mask, and then I put on the goggles, the safety goggles, from the lab. They probably thought, what is this guy's insane? But people are polite. They didn't laugh too much. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smart watches, all that jazz. 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number. 888-827-5536. That's toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. Something in the chat room. This is interesting. Web1211 says, I bought an optical sound card for my PC. That's interesting. So the PC, computer, any computer, of course, everything internally is digital, ones and zeros, even the music. It's playing back a digital file, which is all ones and zeros on the hard drive. And at some point, those digits have to be converted into analog sound waves. That's called a digital to analog converter, or DAC. Your computer has a DAC built in. Any computer with sound capability has a DAC built in. But often they skimp on the DACs, and audio files have there's a whole, just the word audio file should tell you, there's a whole thing about which DACs are the best DACs and all of that. So if you buy an optical sound card, it's an interesting choice because an optical sound card you put in your computer isn't a DAC. It's not doing anything. It's just passing the digits through. I'm not sure that makes a lot of sense, to be honest with you. I think you're getting the digits out of the USB port. Bits is bits. You can buy a USB DAC. You've heard Scott Wilkinson, our home theater guy, recommend them. We actually use an inexpensive one that I really like. Looks like a little hip flask from a company called iFi. It's actually called the hip DAC because it does look like a hip flask. And it will plug into the USB port of your phone or your computer. And then internally it has two things that you'll need. One is, of course, the digital to analog converter. Takes the USB bits, converts them into analog waveforms. So it has a headphone jack on it, right? But it also needs an amplifier in there because otherwise the sound would be too low. You need an amplifier too. So it's around, I don't know, 120, 130 bucks, 150. Okay. And it's kind of cool. It amplifies it. It converts it. It's got a very good, what audiophiles, I guess, consider a good DAC. So I'm not sure what the optical sound card would do for you. It doesn't have a DAC. It has to then, I guess, well, he says he's converting it. It comes with something called Beam, and then it goes out to HDMI, which is also digital. So if you have, for instance, your computer connected via HDMI to an audio receiver, and then the audio receiver connected to speakers, the receiver is the DAC. It's taking the bits coming out of the computer. HDMI is just passing bits. It's digital. That's what HDMI stands for. The D is digital. So HDMI, which technically, what does HDMI stand for? Actually, now that I'm high definition, so the D is not digital, multimedia interface, but it is digital. So at some point at the other end of the HDMI port, there's got to be a digital to analog audio converter, as well as, of course, video converters, because there's video on it too. So somewhere you've got a DAC. Maybe it's in this. He says he also uses it. He's listening to the show via Sonos using this system. So somewhere there's a DAC in there. It's an interesting choice. I'm not sure exactly what the advantage would be. Probably the Sonos Beam is the DAC. I don't know. Maybe that's sending it. I don't know if that's sending it analog or digital. It's interesting. The Beam takes the optical output from his optical sound card and then sends it to the Sonos speakers. And presumably it's analog by that point. That'd be my guess. I have to look into that. 8888 Ask Leo. We know details. Who cares? Jessica. That's more important. Jessica's on the line from Torrance. Hi, Jessica.
Hi, Leo. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing good. Unfortunately, I'm here working today, and I should be out at the beach.
So should we all.
I'm just kind of losing sleep at night on an issue that I'm hoping you can
You know what I did? I did what Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys did. I actually had sand brought into my office, and I'm barefoot, and my toes are in the sand right now. Very comfortable.
Okay, well, I that's a little extreme for me. I'll just take a quick.
Brian Wilson did that. The Beach Boys. He had he put his piano in a sandbox so he could feel like he was at the beach when he was writing his surf songs. I think that's interesting.
Okay.
As you say.
I guess that's inspirational. Sure.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, me, I don't need sand. So we are working, however. So what can I do to help you with the work?
Okay, so my Dell desktop computer is 8 years old. I looked at it, and it says I have 744 GB free.
Oh, that's good.
And my QuickBooks, which is a huge portion of it, is 331 MB.
Megabytes. So the G is gig, the M is meg. Megabytes stands for thousand, so that's 3,000 megabytes, and the gigabytes stands for what's 1,000 times 1,000? 1,000,000. So so you have a lot of space. You almost have 1 trillion bytes free.
Okay, so I do, which I guess is good. Okay, but my concern is that this desktop is 8 years old.
That's a bigger concern, yeah. Although I have to say that we haven't, a lot of us have memories of the early days of computing where every year the next computer was lots faster than the old one. But that's slowed down quite a bit. Intel has not been really able to make its chips much faster over the last 5 or 6 years. So even an 8-year-old computer isn't going to be much slower. More likely the hard drive is going to be slow. You could get a faster hard drive, things like that.
Well, my concern is that now, okay, I just want to let you know that I do back up to the cloud my important files like QuickBooks and some other things. And I do have that Express VPN, but my concern is that one day I'm going to come in and I'm going to get that dreaded black screen.
Yeah, everybody's concerned, but that could happen on day one as well as day
really? Okay.
Yeah, 12,792. So yeah, that's not. You're right. You're backing up. That's why you back up, because you're concerned about that. The computers don't wear out. If that's your concern, it's not going to.
Well, yeah.
There's only a few moving parts. The hard drive is one of them. So if you are concerned, replacing the hard drive might be a good thing to do. It'll give you more space, but it'll also give you a lot more speed. Modern hard drives are what we call solid-state drives. They don't have spinning platters anymore. Yours almost certainly has a spinning platter. If you replaced that with a solid-state drive, you'd get much faster boot times. There's another advantage, by the way, to doing that, which is one of the reasons computers slow down is because you're using them. It's not that they're wearing out, but there's more junk running in the background. There's more files on the hard drive. It's just it gets like a garage that you've been living in for 8 years. It just gets cluttered. And so erasing, starting over, putting Windows on, reinstalling your apps, putting your data back on, you're going to see a big jump just by itself, and then putting an SSD. Now, I know what you really want is a new computer, so I shouldn't be even saying this.
Well, I don't mind buying a new computer, but then, of course, if I bought a new computer, the transferring of all that data to that new computer is like going to take me so
Actually,
much
it's not. It's not. So the new computer will come with Windows on it. You will have to reinstall QuickBooks. Do you use QuickBooks on the hard drive or QuickBooks in the cloud?
I use it on a hard drive because I found that the cloud isn't working for me.
Yeah, that's fine. So you'll have to reinstall QuickBooks, but you do that every year anyway, right? Because there's always an update.
I don't think I do, no.
Okay.
I don't.
Intuit would love it if you would upgrade.
Yeah.
So this might be a good opportunity to get to the latest QuickBooks, reinstall that. And nowadays, installing software is a lot easier. It used to be you have to find the discs or the CDs and dig them out and find the serial number. Nowadays, it's you log into your account at Intuit and you download the software and it installs, and that's about it.
Okay. One last question. Wait,
before you go on. And I should mention, you're backing up. You said you're backing up. So then you restore your data from the backup. this would be a good time to do one more backup, which is a complete backup of everything on that hard drive. Get an external drive and they're cheap, and back up everything on the hard drive, just so in case you missed something, you've got an extra copy. It's always good to have multiple copies.
Okay. Do you think I don't have? Do you think it would be worthwhile for me to spend money on this external drive?
Well, I know you want to buy something.
I just want to be preventative.
You want to be,
one day and have the hugest headache of my life.
So I completely understand. That will happen. It always does, but it can happen with a brand new one too. Computers are not like cars. They don't wear out. The chips don't wear out. Nothing wears out except moving parts. That's the hard drive. That's going to die. Yeah, you're right. After 8 years, your chance of a hard drive death goes up about 10% a year from now on. So this would be it's really good. I'm really glad to hear you have good backup. I would go to, the big box store and buy a drive the same size as your internal drive and back it all up. There's Microsoft has in Windows a backup solution that you can back up everything, the whole drive, onto that external drive. That's peace of mind. Because then if your computer goes, you come in and it's dark, you bring it to the Geek Squad and you say it died, and they fix it, they put a new drive in, and you go, oh, thank goodness I have this backup of everything, which you keep up to date, by the way, right? That's important. Yeah. And then you just restore it, and then you're good.
Okay.
So I wouldn't worry if you've got a good backup. Yes, your computer's you're going to come in someday and it's going to be dead. The only way to kind of completely prevent that is have two computers. Redundancy is how we protect ourselves from computer failure, not by buying a new computer and getting rid of the old one. You could buy a new one, put the old one in the corner in case this happens.
Yeah. Okay. What about, I was looking at Recovery Drive, and it said on my computer it's no longer available because it was updated 10 days ago. So does that mean it's somewhere in there?
I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I know. I mean,
yeah, so just keep making those backups.
I remember in the past we used to make a disk backup so it had everything.
Yeah, and that's what I'm talking about. Get an external hard drive and use Windows backup. In fact, they call it the legacy backup from Windows 7. It makes an image copy of the entire drive on that second drive. If anything goes wrong, you could do it, or if you don't feel up to it, you could have a computer person do it. Say, look, I've got this image copy. They'll put a new drive in. They'll probably put an SSD in. You'll restore it, and lo and behold, everything's 10 times faster. And that the processor, the memory, all that, you can upgrade it, but it's not worn out. It's not going to wear out.
Yeah, I'm okay with my speed and all that.
Yeah.
I know that when I boot up, it takes a long time.
Well, that's an SSD would help. So that's another option. I'll give you a second option.
Okay.
Get an SSD the same size. It's a desktop or a laptop?
Desktop.
Oh, good. That's easy. Get an SSD the same capacity or more, probably going to get more, than your existing internal drive. You could put it into the desktop with the old one in there, do a bit-for-bit copy of the old one onto the new one, take out the old one. That's a backup now. You don't even have to do anything. Take out the old one, boot to the new one. You're going to see a huge speed improvement. You're going to have a brand new fresh drive so that now the clock starts all over again. And that old drive, you didn't get rid of it. It's sitting right there. If any time there were a problem with it, everything's on there that you need. Up to the day that you did this. Okay.
All right. I take your word on it. You're the expert at this, and that's fine.
Well, that's what if it were me, that's what I would do. I'm not, a lot of geeks say, oh, get a new one. Hey, there's a chance to get a new one. Why get a new one? If it's fast enough, everything's working. The only thing that wears out is that spinning drive.
Okay.
Maybe spend the money on a nice new monitor or keyboard or, because that's what you're using all the time. As long as the guts are still working.
Okay. So I'm going to go replace the hard drive and also tell them I want a new SSD.
You go into the Geek Squad, say, look, tell them the same thing you told me, and say, Leo said to replace the internal drive with an SSD, and please, I would like to keep the old drive as a backup.
Okay.
And would you please copy the old contents to the new one so that I can just boot it up and it'll run?
Okay, I'm going to do that.
They'll do that for you. Labor's not going to be expensive.
Yeah.
And, modern drives are actually not very expensive. SSDs used to be very pricey. Those prices have dropped. And you will see, by the way, boot up times in the 10-second range. Performance will be, you'll feel like you have a brand new computer.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I'm going to do that.
All right. Call me if it doesn't work. Call me and yell at me. All right, Jessica.
All right, I will.
Take care. Thank you. Things go wrong. I'm not saying it's always going to be perfect, but that's my best advice. I think that's the best thing to do. I'm going to revise my megabyte, terabyte description in a second because I got it a little bit wrong. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. The Tech Guy podcast brought to you this week by LastPass. LastPass has made a commitment to protecting its users for a dozen years now. In fact, I started using it almost exactly 12 years ago when LastPass was just starting out. They've doubled in size in just the last year. 25 million users now, 70,000 businesses. It's no wonder LastPass is the award-winning #1 password manager. It's the one I use, the one I tell everybody to use. In fact, we use it here at work, and I am glad because this remote work environment really changes everything. Adjusting to an online workforce, more than just getting them a computer and a desk, it's a security issue. And for us, LastPass has been a saving grace. It lets us set up, utilize, and share strong passwords for our team, for all the accounts that they use. And by the way, they're using, our bank accounts, our QuickBooks, our websites. I mean, they've got access to the keys to the kingdom. I want to make sure they keep those secure, even if they're at home outside of the warm embrace of our, IT department. But that's what's great about LastPass. IT always has insight into who has access to what from where. It's strong authentication. It's what you need. Strong identity and access management. It is incredibly valuable for a remote workforce. They've got single sign-on, which is even better than passwords. You press I say yes on approve on your phone, and you've logged in. 1,300 single sign-on apps supported by LastPass. You get oversight of shadow IT. You get enforceable policies, almost 100 enforceable policies. For instance, we tell our employees you have to use two-factor. You just have to. Sorry, it's policy. We have minimum password requirements, so we make sure that they are doing the right thing, right? They support not just fingerprint and face recognition or iris recognition. They support multi-factor authentication, adding contextual factors like geolocation or IP address to really make sure that the right people and only the right people are using your information. It's a zero-knowledge model, which assumes that until authenticated, everybody is an adversary. And LastPass does it so well. Your security, their top priority. It lets our employees have a safe, secure environment that's actually more convenient, easier for them to use. And it works everywhere they do. Windows, Mac, Linux, every browser, iOS, Android, every phone, every tablet. And of course, all the buzzwords, fully buzzword compliant, AES 256-bit encryption. They use PBKDF2 to make sure it's harder to brute force. I set it for 100,000 iterations. Nobody's going to brute force that. They use salted hashes, SHA-256. Data is only decrypted at the device level, fully encrypted before it's sent off the device. And your password is never transmitted off device. LastPass doesn't have access to it, so no one can get into your vault. It's yours and yours alone. It's so secure. I think of it as a kind of my own personal secure enclave on my devices. That's why I trust it not just with passwords and logins, but with passports, with driver's license, social security numbers, all my documents. I keep them in LastPass. I know they're safe there, but I also know I have access to them when I need them. I love LastPass. They have won so many awards. 8 this year alone. PC Magazine's Editor's Choice. They won the Fortress Cybersecurity Award. Business Insider's Best Overall Password Manager. That's just a few. It goes on and on. LastPass is the best. No better time to get LastPass. Ease the burden for yourself and your remote workforce with the cybersecurity protection you need. It's what we use at TWiT. It's what I use at home. LastPass.com/TWiT. LastPass.com/TWiT. Thank you, LastPass. They've been a great sponsor all year long. They've kept us on the air, frankly, during COVID-19. And we're really grateful to them. LastPass.com/TWiT. Use that address so they know you heard it here. And now back to the Tech Guy.
We got a little call from Jack and Diane on the line from Bloomington, Indiana. No,
Just kidding. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Rodney's on the line from Houston, Texas. Hello, Rodney.
Hi, Leo.
Hey, welcome. Thanks for hanging on. I appreciate it.
Long-time listener to this show and your other show, TWiT. So thank you very much for that.
Bless you. That's our podcast network.
I have to say, I listen to the show with podcast and YouTube. I haven't listened to FM radio in a very long time.
Shh, don't tell my boss that. They'll be really upset. Oh, yeah, we love radio, don't we?
I had station wagon flashbacks.
What can I do for you?
I was wondering if you can demystify for me Apple product life cycle and how long do they update, they keep software?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah. That's a great question. Now, it's not written in stone. You know, Windows and Google with Chrome OS, they have, calendars. But as far as I know, Apple doesn't say, look, Catalina, the current Mac OS, is going to be out of date in 5 years. We're not going to support it. It doesn't work that way. The way they do it is, of course, by hardware. So, for instance, the next version of Mac OS is coming out in, some unknown number of weeks. They have already said it won't run on a lot of older Macintoshes, like a lot. You'll have to have, the oldest I think will be a 2015 MacBook. So, but there's no rhyme or reason to it. As far as I can tell. Let me think about it a little bit and get back to you. Chris Marquardt, our photo guy's just around the corner. We're going to talk about digital photography, so stay right here. It's an interesting question because it would be nice if Apple had a kind of a website where they would say, but see, the difference is Apple makes the hardware. So Microsoft makes some hardware, but they don't make by any means all the Windows hardware. So they're not going to say, yeah, your HP Spectre is going to be out of date in 4 years. They're not going to say that. So they merely do it by operating system. They say Windows 7, end of life January 14th, 2020, and that's that. And they've been saying that, they say that 10 years ago they announced it. Apple doesn't do that because they make the hardware and the software. So they really tie their compatibility to the hardware releases. So Big Sur, which is the next version of Mac OS, is, I would say, worse than a lot of Mac OS releases. The oldest thing you'll be able to run on it is a 7-year-old Mac Pro or a 7-year-old late 2013 MacBook Pro, MacBook Air, 2015 MacBook, 2014 iMac, 2014 Mac Mini. So you could see it's not 10 years. It depends on the hardware. There's also a larger issue, for instance, with Catalina, 32-bit apps wouldn't work. And they do announce that several years ahead of time. They announced that about 4 years ago. We're not, guys, if you've got a 32-bit app you're selling, make it 64-bit. And they gave them a lot of tools to do it. People still drag their feet. And there were some programs that just wouldn't work on Catalina. iOS, they might be a little bit more specific on iOS compatibility. Let me see. So iOS 14 would only work. Let me just see what the list was on iOS 14. It's kind of interesting. It's just different from Windows. It's different because they make all the hardware, so they can just make it tied to the hardware. Let me see the compatibility on iOS 14. They bury it somewhere deep on the page. I think it's like iPhone 6S and later. But I know the 6 wouldn't. I think the 6S is the oldest. Oh, yeah, here we go. Yeah, the oldest is the 6S or the first generation SE. It would run on a 7th generation iPod Touch. So, again, they tie it to hardware, not to calendars. It's a little more linear with the iPhone because there's an iPhone every year. So you can say, well, how old is a 6S? 5 years old, 6 years old? So now, does that mean you won't get security patches? It does not. And I don't think they're that clear about what the security patch status is. I think they continue to patch for a long time. It's just that you can't put iOS 14 on an iPhone 6. I think they're pretty good, and it's not anything like what Microsoft or Google are doing. You know, Google will say, okay, you're not going to be able to get an update to your Chromebook for after 3 years. Period. Boom. That's it. Let me think about Android. Android's much more like the Mac, the Windows world, because there's so many different Android devices. They can't really say. That's really more up to the manufacturer, I think. It's time. Our photo guy is here, Chris Marquardt, our photo sensei at sensei.photo. Hello, Chris.
Hey, how's it going?
It's good to see you. I was asking off the air, you must have looked at the new iPhones and been somewhat impressed by the photographic capabilities.
Of course.
Are you gonna get a new iPhone?
Well, of course, I was looking at all the different cameras, and the thing is, I'm currently using this iPhone, which is a 10R, which only has the one camera on it. So
I liked the 10R though. That was
I'm a couple years behind.
Yeah,
and that's the cycle that I usually go for.
So
now it's time to get a new iPhone.
Yeah.
But I was also a super fan of the smaller phones. So we were looking at I think one of my all-time favorites was the 4S. Wonderful design.
Then you're going to love the Mini. It looks just like a 4S.
I have a 2017 SE here. Compare that with the XR or the 10R. So it's very tiny.
Yeah.
And the Mini is somewhere in between those two.
It's a little bit bigger than the old SE and a little smaller than the current SE.
And it has the internals of the bigger ones of the 12, with a few exceptions, but really nothing that bothers me in real life use. Then, yeah, I think the Mini is the one that is gonna be the one. Yeah.
It doesn't have the 3 lenses, only has 2.
No, I know.
It doesn't have that, the thing that's most interesting to me, you're just going to have to watch from a distance, is the iPhone 12 Pro Max, and only the 12 Pro Max, has a 50% bigger sensor, 1.7 micron pixels. That means for a phone, a lot of light gathering.
Well, over the last few days, I've done something that kind of doesn't require that in an iPhone. The thing I want to talk about today, and that's a nice segue, is the snapshot.
What?
I've often talked about that the camera isn't everything. Okay, so let's look at the whole subject of the snapshot. What is a snapshot for you? How do you define a snapshot?
A quick, thoughtless photo.
Yeah, sort of. It's a casual shot.
It's a record of what happened, where you were, what you were doing, the people you were with. It's more a documentary record than it's intended to be art.
It often is, yeah, and it's usually handheld. It's a very simple camera normally. It's set to automatic setting, so you're not fiddling with apertures and things. It doesn't have a lot of intention. It's unplanned, right?
Yeah.
And then on the other hand, there's the in air quotes, big air quotes, serious photography that is like more considered and more professional and more in control of everything and has much more intention, is much more planned. So those are the two sides, the two ends of the spectrum, so to speak. And the reason I want to talk about this is because I did an exercise. Because when I go somewhere, I just did, Monica and I did a little 4-week vacation up at the North Sea. And
4 days. You didn't go for 4 weeks, did you?
Oh, just 4 days. And it was like, okay, let's try to go somewhere before the world ends. So,
but you guys are photographers, because I was following you on Instagram, and I'm just getting angrier and angrier. Well, your snapshots are 10 times better than my planned carefully.
Normally, I would take my bigger camera, and I actually did bring the DSLR with a proper lens and everything, but I left it in the apartment. I shot only on the iPhone, only vacation snapshots. And of course, what I did is, and that's where my investment in my skills over the years are paying off, is that I employed the things we have talked about here, the symmetry, the balance in things, the contrast, the reduction, the simplification of the individual photos, placement of things, spacing of things.
And you did everything in black and white, which I think is interesting.
Well, so that's the next thing. I was putting some limitation. This is a creativity exercise. I put a lot of limitation on me by deciding, okay, first of all, I'm just going to shoot with the iPhone, which also made things a lot easier because you take it out of your pocket, it's there, right? So nothing big to carry with you. Second, I was using an app, only an app, not the built-in camera. On the iPhone, there's a app called Argentum, which is a black and white camera. So it has a bunch of filters in there, and one is called the AA filter. It's like makes things look a bit Ansel Adam-like.
I really like it. I'm going to have to get Argentum.
Super high contrast filter, and it brings down the skies and makes the clouds very dramatic.
It's a rich, but it's a rich monochrome. It's beautiful.
I love it. Yeah. The other thing is that I set it to square format. So I was limiting myself to only shooting in square format. And I did this for 4 days, and it was such a refreshing exercise. It was such a breath of fresh air being able to just not care about the technology. The camera was doing exposure for me. A couple of instances where I kind of nudged it a bit in the right direction, but almost nowhere. It really harmonized with the weather. I mean, the filter does really.
You were in the North Sea where it's kind of gloomy and.
It's fall. The North Sea is very cloudy. It's slightly gloomy. The clouds. That filter just makes the clouds go, boom, drama in the sky.
Right.
So that was one of the things that I chose that filter because I knew that was the kind of light and sky that we were getting. Of course, you gotta observe your surroundings. So look what's there, observe the light, look what the light does with things. So that's all things that are, after years and years of doing this with bigger cameras, it's kind of ingrained, right? It's just practice. It's just practice. And then, choose the filter that works with the scenery. And I think a good tip and I count this as a little photo project in itself. And I think the one thing that really is important is find something that holds all those pictures together. That makes them feel like they belong together. And that's the style, that's the filter that I use that kind of does that. It's a consistent visual style. The subject matter is kind of the same. It belongs together. And
look at that sky. Wow.
And take the technology out of it. No tech in there. It's just a phone. And then you can forget about fiddling with apertures and things and just concentrate on the important things, the placement, the symmetry.
It's kind of freeing, isn't it? I mean, you don't.
Oh, amazingly freeing, yes.
I mean,
Absolutely.
I carry the big, heavy camera. I'm sure you do too. Camera bag with me and all the lenses, and then you have to think about the lens. This is one of the reasons I'm excited about the new iPhone. Is I feel like the technology is really going to support this kind of just snapshots. Now, here's the other thing, Chris, and don't downplay it. You've got an amazing eye, so you don't need an expensive camera because your eye picks out the shot, right? You've trained yourself to know what the composition, know what to look for.
It is. There's a lot of practice in that, of course.
Yes.
And when I point the camera somewhere, it's. But looking back at my general kind of photography, it is kind of snapshot photography. I've just learned to be a bit more quick in composing something out of what I see in front of me, and
I'm impressed.
Not including things I don't want in the shot.
I was looking at your Instagram, and one at a time, these shots, and I'm thinking, wow, these are good. I like the square too. That is an interesting.
It gives the shots a bit of a center, a bit of weight, I think. It makes more serene shots, not very dynamic shots. But that was very in tune with what we were seeing there.
I like it. Argentum camera is available on the iPhone App Store, and Chris Marquardt's available at his website, which is sensei.photo. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Oh, these are beautiful shots. I'm downloading Argentum like it would make a difference. I like black and white, though. I do that on my Leica Q. Sometimes I'll just put it in black and white mode, because then the sensor and everything I'm seeing is just black and white all the time, and I really like that. This is kind of the same idea, right?
It is, and I think we should do this more often. Even maybe just set the camera to JPEG and use what comes out there as it is.
Right.
It really is. It's really freeing. It really is. It makes you also reconsider why you have all that expensive gear.
Well, yeah. When I saw the new iPhone's capabilities, I thought, it's
amazing.
I probably could just carry that, and that's all I need.
But as with all cameras, it's not making you a better photographer.
Yeah, that's the problem.
It's in the practice.
Yeah. It's just doing it. Yeah. Argentum's free? It doesn't seem to be.
Nah, the first filter is free. You choose one of the filters, it's free, and then if you want to upgrade to others, I'm just using the free version, the AA filter, the Ansel Adams filter, and that's pretty much it. It has like 5 other filters in there that have different contrasts and different ways to handle colors and things. So I like it.
Yeah, this looks really nice. Screen. Yeah,
it's right on the home screen.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a look at it. I love black and white. I'm a huge black and white fan. On the future of photography, the other podcast that I do, we have a Discord where we share photos and things. One of us has now started doing a hipstamatic project, which Hipstamatic is the grandfather of these kind of apps. And the thing he's doing as a creativity exercise is he uses shake to random and takes a photo after, like, without even knowing what he's going to get. And it's amazing. It's amazing the stuff that comes out of that. So I'm turning into a late fan of these kind of filtering apps. I think it's fun, and fun is it's important to have fun. And you were on vacation, so you wanted to make it not such a big deal, because I bet you it's challenging. Both you and Monica are photographers, and it's probably challenging to really just relax.
Oh yeah, she did the same. So she has her Argentum set. I have one, and it's.
I love that.
It's great.
I love that. Yeah, I was thinking with the new iPhone, that may be all I need to take on. Someday I'll go on a trip again. That may be all I'll need.
Yeah. I'm gonna go for the mini. 2 cameras in there, plenty.
That's all you need.
Who needs more? You have feet to walk if you want to zoom, so you can just walk closer.
I think the low light's going to be really interesting. That's what
definitely.
I'm very curious about. All right, Chris, wonderful. Thank you.
All right.
And
see you in a week.
See you in a week. Thanks. I'll tell everybody about the assignment. What is it again?
Smoke.
Smoke. Oh, we had plenty of that. All right.
All right.
Thanks, Chris. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo is my phone number if you want to talk high tech. Chris Marquardt left us with a photo assignment. We've got a couple more weeks to take pictures illustrating the concept smoke. That's our assignment, smoke. We do these for a month, 4 weeks in a row. The idea is get you out there and take pictures. There's no prize or anything. It's just, it's an assignment. Go take pictures. You can use any camera you've got. You can do it in any way you want. The whole idea is to get your creative juices flowing. And then if you find a picture, you go, wow, this is it. This is a good one. Up to 1 a week, you can upload them to our Tech Guy group on Flickr. So Flickr.com is a photo sharing site. It's free to join. Really great. Love it. Put a lot of pictures there myself. So does Chris. And there's a group on there, the Tech Guy group, that's huge. Huge. It's all our Tech Guy photographers. And you're invited to join. There's no charge to that. Once you are a member of the Tech Guy group, you can submit your photo for our assignment. Do me a favor, though. Tag it with that's one of the things on Flickr. You use tags with TG Smoke for Tech Guy Smoke. So that way our moderator, Renee Silverman, will say, oh, this is a submission for the Tech Guy assignment. You'll know you're in the right group, the Tech Guy group, in the right group because there's 13,000 members and 7,000 photos on there. And already we've got some smoky photos being uploaded to that. But it's not too late. We'd love for you to do it. Tech Guy group, tag it with TG Smoke. And in a couple of weeks, Chris is going to pick 3 of our submissions to talk about. I want to explain my math because it was a little odd. I was talking earlier to our caller who said I have gigabytes left on my hard drive. My QuickBooks takes megabytes, and I was explaining the difference. Mega means million, actually, and giga means trillion. But I always think of mega as thousands of kilobytes, and that was where I think the confusion is. If you're just counting bytes, a megabyte would be a million bytes, 1,000, because a kilobyte is 1,000 bytes. And a kilobyte is really, a byte is such a small amount. That's 8 bits. We don't talk about how many bits. We talk about how many bytes. And typically, in my mind anyway, when I say megabyte, I think of 1,000 kilobytes. And a gigabyte is 1,000 kilobytes or a million kilobytes. So that's why it might have sounded a little odd to you. There's another extra step of oddity, which is we are in base 10. We got 10 fingers, so our number system goes from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then 10. But computers are not. They're base 2, 0, 1, and then 1, 1, and then no, wait a minute, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 0, like that. They never have more than a 1 or a 0. And they just add places for the bigger numbers. And so you can talk about a megabyte as a decimal megabyte, which I just did. And actually, that's incorrect. The computer's not measuring it that way. The computer's measuring it in binary, so it's not decimal. So a byte is 8 bits. A kilobyte is not 1,000 bytes, but 10 to the third bits. That's confusing. 10 to the third bytes. And a megabyte is 10 to the 6 bytes, and on and on and on. It's done in, or it's not 10, it's 2. So 2 to, never mind. No one cares. Leo, thank you very much. Anyway, the reason I mentioned that is for a long time, companies would talk about the capacity of their drives in decimal. And then you'd get it and you'd look at it and it's a lot less because it's not in decimal, it's in binary. And so you would think, well, did I get ripped off? No, you didn't get ripped off, but maybe their ad copy was a little bit confusing. That's why you might start to see on some of the ad copy and on the box people using saying this is decimal or binary. And then there is a new thing, the megabyte, or MIB, which is the binary version of this. A megabyte is not 1 million bytes, but a 1,048,576 bytes, or 1,024 kilobytes. So this was an attempt to make this all clear, and it's not helping at all, is it? Anyway, moving on. Oh, and then I wanted to follow up a little bit on Apple's, because we had a great question. What is going on with Apple's, schedule of retirement for its operating systems? And there isn't a schedule in that sense. There's no, unlike Microsoft or Google with Android, there's no calendar expiration date because it doesn't work that way. Apple makes the hardware and the software. So they tie their expirations to hardware, and I think they do it based on hardware capabilities, and it's unpredictable. It's just not, when you buy a new Mac laptop, they're not going to say, in 8 years, you won't get the next version of Mac OS. They don't say that. You just don't know. The good news is they keep this stuff going as long as possible. So your iPhone, going all the way back to the iPhone 6S, can be upgraded to the latest version of iOS. If you want Big Sur, the next version of Mac OS, which will be out in the next few weeks, you can go as far back as a 2013 Macintosh and still run it. 7 years. So that's the good news. They do, I think, a very good job of supporting even older hardware. Remember, we're going in a little bit of a sea change now with Apple because the next laptop that they release, I'm going to guess probably all the next computers that they release will not be based on Intel chips anymore. They'll be a completely different platform. Apple's going to make their own silicon, much like they do with the iPhone and the iPad and the Apple Watch and the Apple TV. The Mac is the last kind of bastion of using somebody else's chips. They've stopped that. And that's going to mean there will be at some point, maybe in the next few years, a kind of a cutoff where Apple's going to say, look, the next version of the operating system is not going to support Intel. And that's going to happen sooner than later. I would say in the next few years. Apple said, we will support our Intel Macs for years. For years. We're going to support our Apple Mac. Now, that could be 2 years. That's years. It could be 20, but it could also be 2. And it's more likely on the 2 side than it is on the 20 side. So if you buy an Intel Mac these days, you are buying something that perhaps will be obsolescent a little bit sooner than it would be otherwise. I wouldn't expect these current crop of Intel Macs to be good 8 years from now. We'll see. We'll see. Apple has it. They keep their own counsel. They don't tell everybody what's going on. It's kind of a secret, kind of a mystery. Well, you remember Apple had an event right after the Mac came out in the early 80s. I think it was 84, 85. Apple II Forever. Remember that? They had a big convention. They said, this because they wanted to reassure Apple II fans that the Apple II would last forever. Not exactly. So the Apple II Forever event was in, 85? When did they discontinue the, I guess the last Apple II, the 2C or the 2CI? It wasn't forever. I think it was a couple of years. Let me see. When did they stop making the Apple IIci? 89. No, they released it in 89. So that's 4 years later. Okay. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here. The tech guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smartwatches, all that jazz. 8888 Ask Leo is the phone number. 888-827-5536. Toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. I wanted to talk a little bit more about since I've confused things terribly, about the Apple transition away from Intel processors. There is something we can refer back to, some history we can look at to give us some idea of what this might look at. The last time Apple changed processor platforms, they went from IBM's PowerPC to Intel's processors. That was back in 2005. So 15 years ago. At the time, PowerPC had really hit a wall. It wasn't improving. It really looked like they weren't going to get the capabilities that they needed. So Apple looked around. They said, look, Intel is really on a tear. Let's start using Intel. Now, I think that transition was actually more difficult because they weren't making the chips themselves. Intel was. It might be a little bit different when Apple makes its own chips, but we can use it as sort of a template. Apple announced the transition at their developer conference in mid-2005. At the time, in their press release, they said it would take a year, and in a year later, they would put out the first Intel Macs, and that would finish by the end of 2007. It's kind of what Apple has said about Apple Silicon. They've said, although maybe a little quicker, they said we're going to have the first Apple Silicon Macs this year, so in a few months, and we will continue to support Intel's for years to come. Okay. So what happened in 2005? They came out with the first Intel chips just a few months after the announcement, January 2006. And this is probably the thing that's most important, 3 years later, August 2009, they released the first version of the Macintosh operating system, Mac OS 10 10.6 Snow Leopard. That was the first one that didn't work with PowerPC. Actually, that was the last one that worked with PowerPC. So it took them about 3.5 years before they did a Mac OS 10 that didn't work with the old computers. Will they take longer this time? Will it be 4 years or 5 years? I don't see any reason. Big Sur, the next version of Mac OS, it's now OS 11, and that's one of the reasons they incremented it, is going to be the first to support Apple Silicon. So any Apple Macintosh you get with their new chips will have Big Sur on it. And, I think it's not unreasonable to think that the next 3 versions of Mac OS will continue to support Intel. But 4 years from now, your Intel Mac, will you be able to use the latest operating system? Maybe not. If history is any indicator, maybe not. This is why when people ask me, should I wait or should I buy a Mac now? The answer, and I think this is the universal answer, is, well, if you have to buy it now, if you need a computer desperately, if your computer broke or you've got a kid going off to college or something that means you need it right now, it's fine to buy a Mac. You're going to get, it's going to work. You continue to get operating system updates, probably 3-4 years. That's probably okay. If you could wait, though, it would probably be a good idea to wait. If you're not in a hurry, I'm not buying a computer. I'm not buying any computer until Apple, and it'll probably be next month, Apple will announce the first new Macintoshes with Apple Silicon, and we'll probably be able to get it maybe before the end of the year, maybe in January. That's kind of typical. That's going to be the next computer I'm going to get. Not going to get a Windows computer, not going to get a Mac. I want to see what Apple Silicon can do, because it's my hunch. The Intels were light years ahead of the PowerPCs, but this is going to be a whole different ball game. What Apple's doing, in fact, they showed it with their new iPhone 12, with their new iPad. What Apple's doing with their chips is remarkable. The Intel process is, we sometimes talk about the size of the wiring in the processor, which kind of tells you how many transistors, how much power they can put in a processor. Intel's stuck. They're really stuck. They can't quite get to 10 nanometers, 10 billionths of a meter, which is, pretty thin. Apple's new processors are 5 nanometers. The ones in the iPhone and the iPad, 5. Intel's far, far away from that. That's not the most important thing. You don't care how thin the wiring is in your microprocessor, but it does tell you how much more capacity those chips have, how much more they can build in. And in fact, Apple's putting 11.8 billion transistors in this new chip. It's got 6 CPU cores, 4 graphics cores, and that's for a phone. So the capabilities of these chips look really to be, they've got machine language capabilities built into the chip, image processing built into the chip. Because Apple's designing chips for their hardware, their operating system, they know exactly what they need to put in there, what they don't need to put in there. It's like buying a custom tailored suit versus buying one off the rack. Those Intel chips, the Qualcomm chips, the chips made by third parties sold to a variety of companies are general purpose. They're not quite tailored. They're off the shelf. Apple doesn't have to do that anymore. And I suspect that's going to be a real benefit going forward. I would not be surprised if Apple's new hardware is significantly faster, significantly better battery life, more reliable. And of course, a lot of people will say, don't buy the first version of anything. That's bad. That's a bad idea. And maybe that's right. Buy the second one. That's fine if you're nervous. I am pretty excited. I think we're going to see some amazing hardware coming out of Apple. We already have. Just look at these iPhones. Some amazing hardware. They are about ready to leapfrog over the rest of the industry. That's my best guess. And that's why, if you could wait, it might be worth it. Rick's on the line from Pleasant Hill, California. Hi, Rick. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hey, Leo, I think I'm going to be wasting your time today because I don't think you're going to have a solution for me.
Well, that happens.
It may be of interest to some of your listeners who are thinking about cutting the cord.
Okay.
which I did almost a year ago, and went to YouTube TV, which we really, really like.
I do too. I mean, it's kind of basic cable, isn't it? It's $50.
Yeah.
So you're not getting a great deal, but
we use other services to supplement it, like Netflix and BritBox and Acorn and Prime. And,
yeah, me too.
And Apple TV. So,
I love the DVR in YouTube TV. I think the ability just to put a push.
It's wonderful.
It's fantastic.
And it gives you the option of begin from the start.
Right.
If you're recording something that you jump in on the middle.
Right.
It's excellent, just an excellent system, except...
I thought I heard an except coming. Okay, what's the except?
Yeah. Here's the situation. Among all of the streaming services that we have, only YouTube TV does this. And I'll tell you what the problem is and then go through my equipment and my troubleshooting. It buffers constantly in the evenings. The only way that I can get it to stop freeze up buffering is to switch to another channel and immediately switch back.
So let me ask you a couple of questions. So you're saying it doesn't happen in the daytime?
No, it happens in the daytime too, but we watch TV mostly.
Oh, okay. So it could be happening all the time. You just don't know.
Right.
And what are you playing it back on? A Roku? What?
Yes. And I was going to go through the equipment.
Well, I don't have a lot of time, so I'm just going to ask you pointed questions. Okay. So what's the hardware?
I have Eero mesh system throughout the house.
Yeah, no.
And Roku's.
That's all I want to know. No. You don't need to tell me more. All I want to know what you're playing it back on. And you said that other services like your Netflix, they don't do this.
No.
Okay. So one of the things that isn't widely understood, the YouTube app, the Roku on the Roku, the Netflix app on the Roku, those apps are written by the companies for that hardware. And there are differences in performance. So it may well be, I don't know, I don't watch YouTube TV on Roku usually. I watch it on an Apple TV or a Chromecast, Google's own hardware. It may well be that the app on Roku isn't very good. This happens. I've seen it happen with other people's apps all the time. Apple's app on the Roku is awful. So some of this may be Google's fault, YouTube's fault. They maybe just didn't put the best app on the Roku. Which kind of Roku are you using?
I have 3 Ultras and 2 3s.
Okay, so you have the high end. That's got the biggest processor. But one of the things that happens with Rokus, they don't want to put fans in them. They want to have a small footprint. So they get hot. You probably noticed that. And they have to limit the processor capability. It may well be that YouTube expects or needs a faster processor than Netflix does, for instance. Mm-hmm. So, it could be your internet, but I don't think it is, only because other streaming services don't suffer the same problem, right?
My internet is about 300 megabits.
Yeah.
And on Wi-Fi, it's about 250.
There's more than just download speed that affects it. There's jitter, there's latency. But, yeah, you have adequate speed. The most important indicator is other channels don't have this problem.
Yep.
So that tells me one thing you could try to diagnose it would be get one of the new Chromecasts. They're cheap. They're $45. In fact, if you buy a month of YouTube TV, you already have it. But for others, if you buy a month of YouTube TV, the Chromecast is free. That tells me Google thinks this is the best way to play back YouTube TV. Just try it and see. My guess is it's going to be fine. That it's the software on the Roku that's the problem. And it may get better as, this software gets updated automatically periodically. You might try deleting it. You may have already tried this, deleting it from your Roku and reinstalling it. Yeah, that didn't fix it. It could very well be just bad software. I've seen it happen.
Well, that's a good point because YouTube TV tells me that their engineers are working on it. So
there you go.
It sounds like you're right.
So it might get better. If you really cared, if you had an Apple TV or a Chromecast, another device that could play it back, an Android TV Shield, for instance, I have not had any buffering with YouTube TV at all, but I've never used it on a Roku. I have a Roku. I can go home tonight and try it. I usually use it on Apple TV, never see any buffering issues. I have to say, and it may be because YouTube is sending an unusual codec. They might be using their VP9 codec. I have to say, it is not super crisp all the time. So that's how it degrades. It'll go from high def to standard def to buffering to stalled. So the first thing to degrade is the signal quality to try to avoid buffering. You're noticing that as well?
Yeah, and one of the things they told me to try was to reduce it to 720p, which didn't fix it. But,
no.
It does vary.
Yeah, it'll lower the buffering, but it's already doing that because it automatically changes the quality depending on what it needs. Right. I think it would be worth spending $45 to get a Chromecast, the new Chromecast, and just to see.
Oh, great. I like new toys. I'll order one.
Yeah, I like them a lot. It has a remote. It works as a universal remote for my TV, I think for most TVs. They've done a really nice job on this new Chromecast. So maybe that's the solution.
Okay.
All right. But I think we assume, it's all the same software. It's not. The Roku app is different than the Apple TV app is different than the Chromecast app. They're written just as they would be for phones for different platforms. And it may be, the codec they're using, VP9, doesn't decode well on the Roku hardware, for instance, that the chip is really good on the Roku for MP4, but not for VP9. It could be things like that as well. And that would be harder for them to fix, to be honest. Now, here from Tokyo Tony is something I didn't think of, which is somebody, I don't know where you found this. I replaced the HDMI cable that came with the Roku with one of my own, and I have not had any problems with YouTube TV buffering. Absolutely. They may ship a 1.3 HDMI cable, for instance. They may not, or may have been a poor cable. It may have been unique to this guy, Tokyo Tony. I mean, he may have just gotten a bad cable in the box. But that's another idea. Try a different HDMI cable. You don't need to get a gold-plated one. They aren't better. But, make sure if it's the latest 1.4. I don't know what the Roku Ultra supports, actually. Let me see. Roku Ultra HDMI looks like 2.1. Yeah, so it could be they put an older cable in there, and if you got, because it's 4K, right? This one's for Scott. Yeah, it supports HDMI 2.0B. This is what it says on the spec sheet. So maybe a different cable. Get a HDMI 2 cable. Does that make sense? Yeah, get it for mono price. You don't have to spend a lot of money. Yeah, that's another thing, of course. On all of my... I was using Wi-Fi, and that's one of the reasons we wired the house, and I now have Ethernet on all of my streaming devices. That makes a big difference. Oh, I didn't even mention that. I hope he's still listening. But it may be that the thing is the Roku Ultra is working okay with everything else. Like you're getting 4K Netflix. So it's probably not that. We're going to have more with the tech guy in just a bit. But first, a word from our sponsor. And it's a name you will recognize. They've been a sponsor. Well, they were a sponsor for many years. I'm talking about Eset. What you may not know is Eset has been protecting TWiT for just about that long. Eset's been around for 30 years, a global leader in cybersecurity, and it's what we use on the servers to protect us all at TWiT. So important. Even though we're a small business, we need enterprise-grade security, but it can't slow us down. It can't interfere with the workflow, and that's one of the reasons I've always loved Eset. It's lightweight. The other reason I love Eset, no one is better at keeping up to date on the latest 0 days, the latest flaws, the latest ransomware, multiple layers of protection built in. You won't even know it's running. In fact, I didn't know. Russell had to tell me. I ask Russell every day I see Russell. I say, Russell, are we safe? Is it safe? Because I'm worried about ransomware. He says, it's safe. Finally, he said, it's Leo, it's Eset. I said, oh, it's safe. You get on-prem or in the cloud, your choice. By the way, there are lots of ways you can not only configure it, but lots of ways you can buy it. You can buy it directly from Eset. Russell's a managed service provider. That's how we get it. He's an MSP in their program. There's also an Eset reseller program, whatever works for you. With Eset's Security Management Center, you get a real-time, Russell does, a real-time overview of all the on and off prem endpoints. So right now with work from home, this is even more important. There's full reporting, automated security management for every operating system. Wherever you're online, Russell is not on site most of the time, but he can always access it. And they do something new that I think is exactly what we need. They call it dynamic threat defense. And it's just one more layer of security for Eset and their endpoint products, their mail security. What they do, they use a cloud-based sandbox. So if they see something they say, wait a minute, what is that attachment? What is that program? What is it? They will upload it, execute it in a sandbox in the cloud, far away from your system, completely isolated, and analyze it. Look at what it does, right? Running in a virtual machine in the cloud, they look at it, they go, oh, that's a threat, and they'll block it if it is. All before it reaches your users or your network. This is what you need. Dynamic threat defense will give you a better experience and more security than any other option. Maybe you could save money by doing something cheaper. Please don't. Please don't. Don't load up your machines with stuff. You need Eset. You need Eset. We've been using it for years. I've been talking about it for years. They're trusted by thousands of state and local governments, top universities, and businesses worldwide. And by the way, if you are in an industry that has security compliance issues, things you got to do, PCI, for instance, if you take credit cards, or GLBA, GLOBA, if you handle consumer financial transactions, HIPAA for healthcare, Eset meets all the compliance requirements for whatever it is you're doing. And if you have a remote workforce, check out Eset's remote workforce bundle for advanced ransomware and business data protection, along with all the bundles that they offer. They've got something right for your employees, whether they're at home or at the office. Best reviews from top independent testing labs for not just effectiveness and accurate detection, but for minimal system impact. And that's so important. They're a great fit for a small or medium-sized business. Check them out. Eset, they understand the security needs of small and medium businesses, SMBs like mine. Trust Eset to future-proof your business. And if Russell says it's good, that's why we use it. I trust Russell. He trusts Eset. Get an interactive demo right now at try.eset.com/twit. And there's a free trial there if you want to try it. Eset.com/TWiT. Get a free trial of Eset's award-winning endpoint protection. Eset. It's the best. Always has been. Can you believe for 30 years? 30 years. Eset at try.eset.com/twit. Thank you, Eset, for your support of the Tech Guy Show and for keeping the ransomware at bay. I appreciate it. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. All right. Okay. Chat room at work. The Team Tech Guy at our IRC chat, irc.twit.tv, has some other thoughts. They said, what if the HDMI cable on that Roku isn't great? One of our chatters, Tokyo Tony, found somebody on the web that said, I replaced the short HDMI cable that came with the Roku with one I purchased, and I have not had any problems with YouTube TV buffering. Well, it could be if you had a bad HDMI cable or an out-of-date HDMI cable. Believe it or not, these cables get better over time. The standards change. And if you had an older cable, maybe put a newer cable on it, would work better. That's conceivable. Seems unlikely because nothing else is buffering, right? I didn't ask, but I presume he could see Netflix in 4K. Of course, switching to a hardwired internet would work. I did do that eventually. This was a great expense and difficulty I wired throughout our house because streaming services do definitely work better on a wired network than a wireless network. There's a lot of reasons for that. But Wi-Fi can have issues with streaming, and that may be another issue. It may be that, for instance, the YouTube TV app doesn't have as big a buffer as the Netflix app, and so its buffer gets drained. It has to stop and rebuffer more often just because of the software. It doesn't take a lot of imagination to think of a number of things that could cause this. Stephen, Palm Beach, Florida is next. Hi, Stephen. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy.
N2HYC, old man.
W6TWT. How are you, my friend?
I'm all right. At least we don't have any fires going.
You're in Florida. You get something else.
Hurricanes.
Hurricanes.
I always wondered why hurricanes started with her.
Yeah, they stopped naming them after women, realizing that that's pretty sexist. Well, it's a storm. It must be a lady. So now in fact, we've run out of names, haven't we? Now we're doing Greek letters. Hurricane Delta.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I don't want to tell you what I thought about when they said they were going to name them after Greeks.
Don't tell me. I don't want to know. What can I do for you? What can I do for you?
But I learned, just like you did 60 years ago, that heat is the enemy.
It is.
Of components.
Yes.
Almost any component.
Yep.
So I read an article on it, and the author was saying that, our modems and
our routers, they don't have fans in them for good reason. You don't want to hear, but
yeah.
I was just talking about that with the Roku. They get hot, and that can wear out chips. It can damage them. It can also reduce performance, and ultimately can cause failure. So heat is the enemy, as is water. Don't let that hurricane get inside. Hey, I got to take a break. Hang on, okay? We got. I hear the music telling me it's time to pause, but we shall return. More of your calls coming up. 8888 Ask Leo. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I had to stop for a moment. What?
Hey, that's business.
That's business. We got to, that's the only problem with network. On the podcast, I can go on and on and on. But the radio network, they're sticklers.
Yeah.
I got an atomic clock I have to follow.
Yeah, I got the exact same clock, frankly.
You have the one behind me? I love that.
Yep. It's on right over my bedroom door. I can see
I
it.
love it. I became clock obsessed when I got into radio. And there's clocks in not just in every room, in every line of sight. And if I can't look up and see a clock, I kind of get nervous. I'm getting squirrely.
Before I get up in the morning, I say.
Yeah, is it time?
Alexa.
Oh, yeah, me too. So I love this feature. I can say, hey, you know who? What time is it?
She just said it's 4:29 p.m.
What? Oh, I'm late. Yeah.
Oh, I know. I got 61 years since I got my novice ticket.
Holy cow. How old were you when you got your novice ticket?
12.
That was back when you had to learn Morse code, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, you've had that no CW for...
I know. I would not have a ticket if it weren't for that. As much as I want to learn CW, I just don't think, I think it would have stopped me.
It might have, but, I was, how kids are.
Yeah, when you're 12, anything's possible. Now, let me ask you, though, has it degraded the quality of amateur radio operators on the air because it's so easy?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, because, when you had to know Morse code, man, you had to be dedicated. You weren't just some schlub off the street like Leo. It's pretty easy to get a technician ticket now. It's not hard. I would imagine it's not as bad as CB, but it's a little more unwashed masses on there.
I know, and that's the problem.
Yeah.
But you can get your general license with 5 words now.
It's pretty easy. I know. I have a general. Somebody was just asking me why don't you go for the advanced? It's like, what am I going to do with it? I don't need it. I can't do moon bounce. What is it I can't do? There's some things I can't do, but there's some frequencies I can't get on. That's actually maybe the solution is you get an advanced ticket and then you only stay on those frequencies. Then you're going to get some, smart people there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's sure.
Yeah.
The more they know, the better the chats are, too, I think.
I would guess. I haven't spent a lot of time talking on the air because I talk on the air all day.
Yeah.
And the last thing I want to do, although Art Bell, man, he would go in there, he'd do four more hours.
Remember, I know.
So the last thing I want to do is, my wife would kill me if I went into my ham shack and started, honey, what are you doing in there? I'm talking on the radio. She said, no.
She'd be a ham radio widow.
Yeah, she's already a radio widow. She doesn't need to be a twice over widow. That's okay. I'm an NFL widower, so that's okay.
Oh,
she was, as I was leaving for work, she's lying in bed. She's got YouTube TV. She's got her iPad. She's watching the football games in bed. I'm going, you got the life. She said, yes, I do. I like Sunday. See you later, boy. Hey, hang on now, because we're coming back, and you can ask me your question, okay? Play that funky music, Lady Laura. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. She's our musical director and always keeps me dancing. Thank you, Lady Laura. We were talking before the break with Steven, our ham radio operator from Palm Beach, Florida. Thank you for hanging on, Steven. We were talking about how overheating is bad for components.
Well, you know what? Probably, if electronics, and you've said this a million times, and I couldn't agree more. Electronics either crap out in the first days or weeks, but once they do that, then they'll have a pretty normal life.
Yeah, they're either. This is probably not a very politic way to call it. They either suffer from infant mortality, they die in the first 3 months, or they live forever.
Yeah. Exactly.
Because there's nothing going on, but heat or water could terminate them prematurely. That's for sure.
Well, they're both, my modem and my router is well ventilated, but do you think I'd see any performance? My modem is a DOCSIS 3.1.
So that's the latest. There will be DOCSIS 3.2 coming. I use a Netgear CM1000 DOCSIS 3.1 modem. I am able to get gigabit speed from Comcast on my home cable internet. That's pretty darn good.
1 gig?
Yeah, I was surprised. I was getting 100. And I said, is there anything faster? They said, well, yeah, you could get it faster. I said, well, how fast? They said, well, you can get gigabit down, 40 up. I said, I don't want any bandwidth caps. They said, well, you can do that too. You will be paying for all of this, but I don't care. I feel the need for speed. So the thing to do is to touch that cable modem, especially when there's a lot of data going through it. And if it's warm, that's normal. This is my complete rule of thumb. If it's too hot to touch, that's a problem. That's a problem.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to see any performance increase.
Well, if it's DOCSIS 3.1 and it's working properly, probably not. Cable modems, generally to me, they don't seem to wear out to the degree that routers do. I feel like routers are doing a lot more than a cable modem is. A cable modem's a pretty simple unit.
I also wanted to upgrade the modem because, the router, because I want to put a VPN on it.
Yeah.
Then everything here is protected. I don't have to worry about it anymore.
So that is, routers may wear out, but really the main reason you upgrade a router is because the people who make these things don't upgrade them. And there are well-known router vulnerabilities that could really be an issue for you. The Fraunhofer Institute did a study. I know, I just like saying their names. Fraunhofer invented MP3. They did a study of home routers, consumer routers, that was pretty disturbing. Hundreds of models, all in current use, with unpatched vulnerabilities, firmware issues that made them susceptible to hacking. So the real reason to upgrade your router is just for security. But it would be nice to have some additional features like VPN, absolutely. Fraunhofer said they tested 100 routers, all current. Not a single one passed the security examination, including routers from D-Link, Linksys, and Netgear. Nearly all were found to have security flaws, some of them very severe. So when you buy the new router, what you're going to look for is a router that has automatic firmware updates. Most routers these days, you have to go out and check and see if there's an update. That's not that. No IoT device, no internal home device that gets on the network, an Internet of Things device should require your attention. It should automatically be fixed, and it should be from a company that kind of commits to keeping it up to date. So our sponsor, Eero, is one good choice. They do that. My Eeros get updated sometimes weekly. And they do it automatically. I don't have to think about it.
But then that's worth doing, because I'm not great at remembering these things.
Yeah. Well, no one is. And, you know, as we get more and more things like Alexa, Amazon Echoes, and light bulbs and microwave ovens that are on the internet, you're not going to go around the house every week and say, okay, let's see, are you up to date? Are you up to date? Are you up to date? No, you shouldn't be buying anything that doesn't automatically keep up to date. And
the thermostat.
Yeah, your thermostat.
You just leave it at 78.
Now, you might say, well, what's the worst thing that can happen? They turn up the heat? No, the worst thing that can happen is your IoT device can be a gateway into your home network.
Yeah.
So some guy sitting in Belarus can be scanning the internet saying, oh, look, I found a compromisable thermostat, and get into your network that way. And now it's not the thermostat. It's not that he's turning your heat up and down. It's that he can see what's going on in your network. He can maybe get into your computers. He can cause some real issues. So always look for a IoT device, especially routers, that from a good company that commits to upgrading and can be upgraded automatically.
Well,
but I think your cable modem's all right. I don't know if actually cable modem isn't really a computer. You know, it's a very simple device. But, you know, it's just converting an analog signal into a digital signal.
Yeah. What's that tube up there to your left?
The tube, this one? This is
the one on your desk.
Yeah, the Kenrad. Yeah. This is a Kenrad 76. Somebody mounted it on a wooden... Ryan from Alabama gave me this. He mounted it on a little wooden stand. It's kind of a memento of the analog age. Back before transistors, we used tubes, and as a ham radio operator, you know.
Sure.
What is it when there's a saying hams use? I'm sure you'll know this. You're my Elmer here. When somebody's kind of taking a break, having a beer, what is they say that what is there's a tube name they use. Oh, I can't ham radio jargon. There's a lot of it, isn't it?
You know, the tube that I remember when I was in Vietnam, the last 5 months I was there, I ran a Mars station.
Wow. Yeah. So you were a wireless operator in Vietnam.
Yeah. Well,
wow.
But I ran patches. You know, I had to, theoretically, I was supposed to be monitoring so the guys don't send out anything.
Oh, interesting.
You know, like location or anything like that.
Yeah.
But that's the last thing guys want to say. I'm in Vietnam. What more do you want me to say?
Well, hey, it's a pleasure. I got to run, but it's a pleasure talking to you. 7-3 from W6TWT. You may never hear me on the air because I'm all talked out, but
I'm just on 2 meters, so.
2 meters? So you do the local stuff. That's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a little handy talkie that's good for 2 meters. That'd be fun. Yeah.
It's been fun, old man. Maybe we'll do this again sometime.
Indeed, Stephen. It's a pleasure talking to you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. I'm trying to remember the name. What is... I have to get the hams on. They can tell me. We call a senior ham operator who is a mentor. They call them Elmers. And there's a very famous vacuum tube. I just can't remember the name of it. Oh well. 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number. One more section of the show, one more segment to go, and then we will wrap things up. The website, if you hear something on the air and you want to know more, is techguylabs.com. It's also where you can go to yell at me. Say, Leo, what's a mebibyte? Techguylabs.com. It's free. Thank you for letting me be your geek. I appreciate it. Thanks to Lady Laura, our musical director, hanging in there all day long, playing the hits, conducting the orchestra with her baton. Thanks to our phone angel, Kim Schaffer. Thanks to all of you, most importantly, for tuning in, for listening. I appreciate it. 8888 Ask Leo. The website really is more important at this point in the show. We've got all the calls probably we're going to be able to get to, but if you're on the line, hang on. I will get to you. But the website's good all week long. TechGuyLabs.com. Answers, questions, 1,738 shows, audio and video from most of them. There's some gaps. There's some missing shows. Don't know why. I didn't erase them, I swear. But there are some missing shows. But we got most of them. More than enough. TechGuyLabs.com. And there's no entry fee. There's no sign up or anything. It's just a wide open website. During the week, I do continue to do stuff. We were talking about Art Bell. And he used to do 5 hours on the radio and do another 5 hours on the ham bands. People said, oh, Leo, you only do 3 hours twice a week. Well, that's not quite true. I do a bunch of podcasts during the week as well. And you'll find all of those, including this show, at twit.tv. That's the big podcast, This Week in Tech, TWiT.tv. Been doing that since 2005. 15 years. Mark is on the line from Anchorage, Alaska. Hello, Mark.
Hi, Leo. Hey, a pleasure to be on with you, sir.
So nice to have you. Thanks for calling.
Gosh, well, here in Anchorage, we listen to you on KENI, and I learned more by accident following you than I thought I had room for.
Love KENI. Great station.
Here's what's the thing. I own a CNC machine shop, and I noticed in your war room there that you have a 1, 2, 3 block right in front of you.
I love my one. You know, I don't know anything about CNC, computer-aided milling and all of that, but I love the symmetry, the geometry, and the precision of this 1, 2, 3 block. It's just amazing.
We pay for that.
Pardon me?
We pay for that.
I bet you do. I bet you do. What is the tolerance on this? It's very...
it's in tenths of thousandths of an inch, probably 2/10 of a...
amazing.
2 10,000ths of an inch or less, depending on quality and grade.
So this is a big hunk of brass. It's heavy as heck. And it's got...
a brass one.
Yeah, I think it's brass. Yeah, it's beautiful. And it's got holes drilled through it, but they're all very precise.
Oh, yes, and you can bolt things onto it, bolt it onto things, so on and so forth.
Yeah, I'm wondering what people do with this, because I just think it's a work of art, but I guess it has some practical purpose.
Even a precision rock is a beautiful thing.
It's really true. This is gorgeous. Anyway, hats off to you. That's a great skill. I tell my stepson, he's 18, I said, learn to be a precision machinist, learn some of these high-tech industrial skills. We need them in the United States. And it's a good living, right?
Well, I'm actually struggling, but, the technology is just mind-blowing. And when it works great, oh, geez, it's swell. But when it doesn't, oh, my.
Is the threat to you from overseas manufacture?
Oh, gee. I make my own products and sell them directly on the net.
Oh, and, that's neat. What's your website?
Oh, I don't have a website. I do everything through eBay. I'm the clandestine machine shop.
Oh, that's cool. I like it. What kind of things do you make?
Got press parts, mechanical items, usually out of aluminum and Delrin, things of that nature.
And you own your own CNC?
Several of them, actually.
They're expensive, I would guess.
Yeah, there's always that.
Well, anyway, it's a pleasure to talk to you. It sounds like you got a pretty good deal up there in Anchorage.
Yeah, where it's snowing and the kids are sledding first
already
of the year.
Oh man,
in Anchorage.
Oh man, time to hunker down.
Yeah. So here's the issue. With what I do, I thought it would be pretty cool to get one of those GoPro 7 black cameras. I
love them.
Oh, they're just amazing.
Yeah.
And the versatility is mind-blowing.
The latest version is 9, by the way.
Oh, yeah, I know. Don't hurt me.
The 9s are nice because they have nice LCD screens on the front and the back. These are really kind of pocket cameras, about the size of that 1, 2, 3 block.
Yes.
That are very high quality. They could shoot in 8K, 4K. They have good still quality image. The lens is pretty wide angle, and so they're often called action cameras. You'll see, the footage of, from the helmet of a skier or a motocross rider, and you'll see a unique perspective. This would be kind of a cool thing for you to have as you machine things.
Yeah, well, I can put it right in the machine cabinet. They're waterproof.
Wouldn't that be neat? Yeah.
So here's the thing, I bought this for versatility and size, and I'm pleased with it. It's a wonderful thing. I haven't really played with it much. And it's supposed to have Wi-Fi and Bluetooth.
Right.
It's going right on.
Yeah.
No wires. Wonderful. I can use this. So my intent was to hang it right inside the milling machine to watch milling machine operations, either for presentation for customers or just to monitor the machines while I am in the office upstairs.
Brilliant idea. Yeah.
Okay. And just, use it for a remote cam. However, they're going to think this is funny. There's a glitch.
Uh-oh.
I do not own a cell phone.
Yeah, that's the glitch.
And I can't interface directly.
Yeah. Now I see where the problem lies. Yeah. Yeah, because what you do is you put the GoPro software on your phone, and then it records the GoPro, but it also can record to the phone. It can immediately transfer it to the phone. You can see it. It's your viewfinder, so you put it in the machine. Obviously, you can't see what's going on, but you can look at the phone, and you can see in real time what the camera's seeing. You can start and stop the recording, all of that stuff.
Yeah, so, I'm going, is there a workaround to get that thing to talk directly without the interface through the telephone?
No. Well, what you need, and you don't have to get a fancy phone to do this, I'm almost certain you could use the iPod Touch, which they still sell. It runs apps. It probably run the GoPro app. Let me just look. And it has Bluetooth in it. It has Wi-Fi in it. And it would allow you to control the camera, but it's not a phone. It's just a little iPod Touch. It's basically Apple made it to make to keep iPods around. Let me just see if people are able to use, GoPro Hero connecting to iPod Touch.
I wouldn't have to own a phone. I wouldn't have to be...
No, it's just a fancy iPod.
Somehow I just knew you would have something to come back at.
Yeah, you need something that'll run those apps, unfortunately. But you can get, and you don't need to get the most expensive iPod Touch. They start at $200. And so you'd get the iPod Touch, and it looks like there is a YouTube video. I would suggest watching it to see if there's any gotchas. But it looks like you can control that Hero 7 with an iPod Touch. You put the GoPro app on the iPhone, or I'm sorry, on the iPod Touch. It's not a phone. It will play music. It'll do everything a phone will do, including run those apps.
Well, it's wonderful because there's so much pressure on me to...
No, don't get a phone.
Cell phone.
Yeah, don't get a phone. Yeah. No,
my life is too short to have one.
You're an analog guy living in a digital world.
Oh, my.
What do you control the CNC machine with?
Oh, that's all onboard software.
All right.
And built into
you don't
the
have to use a computer. All right.
On my laptop, I'm hooked up to a wireless radio, or a Bluetooth rather, super Bluetooth. So I generate code on my cam side.
I get it.
And then I punch it out to the machine and run down the stairs and tell the machine to receive code. Here it comes, hang on, and it reads it out. And it's so much nicer than the old days. And the technology is mind blowing. And my stuff is throwback compared to most guys out there. But no,
it's pretty cool.
Is.
Pretty cool. Thank you for the call. I appreciate it. I got to run because the show's over. Stay cool. I don't really have to tell you that, do I? Stay warm. Thanks, Mark. Yeah, that's it. The 807. That's the tube. There's nothing like a cold 807 on a hot Arizona afternoon. Thank you, chat room. That little ham lingo there. Hey, that's it for this show. I can't believe we're out of time. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. Have a great Geek Week. Well, that's it for the Tech Guy Show for today. Thank you so much for being here. And don't forget, TWiT, T-W-I-T. It stands for This Week in Tech, and you'll find it at twit.tv, including the podcasts for this show. We talk about Windows on Windows Weekly, Macintosh on MacBreak Weekly, iPads, iPhones, Apple Watches on iOS Today, security on Security Now. I mean, I can go on and on and on. And, of course, the big show every Sunday afternoon, This Week in Tech. You'll find it all at twit.tv. And I'll be back next week with another great Tech Guys show. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time.